Season of Profile, I came across a passage that I think exemplifies my very first guest. It reads, "To be grateful for the good things that happen in our lives, that is easy. But to be grateful for all of our lives, the good as well as the bad, the successes as well as the failures, the rewards as well as the rejections, that requires hard work." Hard work brought her Olympic bronze and a ton of accolades. But the thing that struck so many people was her sense of gratitude. In a country where track and field is everything, we broke out into such a celebration when she medaled, because many have seen her fall flat on her face more than once to get to this place. But why has she been running towards hurdles at her height, and what's helped keep her going through the rough times? What have been those defining moments? My guest this evening is Megan Tapper. I'm Archibald Gordon. Welcome to Profile. Megan Tapper, welcome to Profile.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so you are the first Jamaican woman to win an Olympic medal in the women's sprint hurdles. How does that feel?
It feels surreal. It feels amazing when I remember. Yeah.
You say when you remember, sometimes you forget.
Yes.
Like how?
I mean, it's not like my name or something that I've lived with for very long. So sometimes I have to kind of remind myself that, I did that. Yeah.
Now, the big focus, and this might actually never have happened, because the big focus when you were younger was not, in fact, so much track and field, but it was gymnastics. How come gymnastics?
Well, I was born climbing grills upside down, basically. My mom told me that the only time I actually fell off a grill is when my grandfather on my father's side tried to help me. So that was the only time that a mishap happened. I was always on grills. I learned how to climb before I could walk. So gymnastics was just the perfect segue for Megan.
And they wanted you to do gymnastics badly.
Yes.
You did it all the time.
I mean, it wasn't necessarily that they wanted me to do gymnastics badly, but they saw where I could fulfill the dream of becoming an Olympian in gymnastics. There was a clear pathway for that. And my parents were definitely ones to make that Olympic dream come true. So they were like, let's get it in gymnastics.
Because overall, you're part of a really, really close-knit family overall. So your mother, your father, you lived with your mother, but your father was very much in the picture.
Yes.
And they were always talking to you, always encouraging you to be yourself. First of all, what's your mother like?
Mommy's Superwoman. She did everything. At one point, I can remember saying to her, "Mommy, you're a Superwoman. How can you do so many things? You draw, you help me with my homework, you comb my hair, you you do everything." And she's like, as being an adult, okay, yeah, thanks. But yes, Mommy's Superwoman.
She just said, I'm just being an adult.
Exactly, yeah. But for me as a child looking on, it was just amazing to see her do everything and do it so well. It was always immaculately done. She is one of the most virtuous women I know. She always reminds me that God should be in the midst and he should be at the forefront and always to put him first. And she's my Superwoman.
She's your Superwoman.
Yeah.
Your father at the same time, always talking to you, always saying to you, you can do anything. What were the conversations with him like?
I mean, the one that stood out the most to me was Daddy telling me that when he was younger, he came from Thompson Town, yes, and his dream was to eat a patty, a cocoa bread, and a soda.
His dream was to eat a patty, a cocoa bread, and a soda?
in one because he couldn't afford all three. And that really struck a chord with me, and it kind of motivated me in ways that I didn't even realize. It's just now like looking back at those conversations that were so motivating for me as little Megan growing up, you know. Daddy would always not force me to, but he'd encourage me to save. He'd say, okay, if you save this amount of money by the end of the week, I'll add on more. And so that was, from there, my love for saving and investing, etc., grew because my daddy just put those seeds in me. Yeah.
I want to talk about two more members of your family.
Yes.
First of all, Uncle Joe.
Yes.
Because you always say you forget to mention him, but he was also such a big part of your life growing up.
For sure.
What did he do?
Uncle Joe was just always there. You know, Mommy worked a lot. She loves to work in addition, and she worked a lot. So those two together, you know. So Uncle Joe kind of filled in the gap when someone needed to fill in the gap. I did a lot of activities, so Uncle Joe would carry me to those activities. He's about 70 now. Probably I'm getting that wrong, but he's pretty on the age side, but it would never ever hamper him. Uncle Joe would always, at 4 o'clock in the morning when I had training at UTech, I'd go and wake up Uncle Joe and say, Uncle Joe, in 30 minutes I'll be ready for training, and he'd come out and he'd carry me to training, and you know, I can never ever be ungrateful to Uncle Joe. He is a rock. He was a rock in the journey for Megan.
And the final person I want to talk about in relation to your family is your brother.
Yes.
A rap artist.
Yes.
Explain how that works.
Well, Merrill, as long as I've known him, wanted to rap, wants to rap, and is rapping. His goal is to become a Grammy Award-winning artist, and I mean, the sky's the limit, and he has greatness in his blood, so why not, you know? But Merrill, as it relates to my journey, has always been a mentor, a kind of mentoring individual. I remember him looking at me once and saying, do you want to, when you look forward, I wanted to quit gymnastics because I hated it. And he said, when you think about your friends collecting their medals at the Olympics, how do you feel? And I'm like, wow, okay, I'll stick to it, because I wanted an Olympic medal, not necessarily in gymnastics, but just an Olympic medal. So when he said that, it kind of put things into perspective for me. And he always says little gems like that motivates and inspires me. So I pretty much have a great family.
Go back to that for me for a minute. You said you hated gymnastics?
Yeah, very much. Very much. It was
Why?
the worst. I had a Japanese coach, and if you know anything about the Japanese, they're very... right? They don't leave the work. And you know, the Jamaican people we're more laid back, and we do what we want to do when we want to do it. And so kind of going into, at such a young age, something so rigid was really hard for me. And my parents, when other people's parents would give them a break and say, okay, you don't want to go today, that's fine, or let them go to birthday parties instead of going to gymnastics, or doing different things, my parents would say, no, what's the goal? Olympics? We're working towards that. Yeah, so hated it.
Just completely hated it?
Nothing. I loved nothing.
You loved absolutely nothing about gymnastics?
Absolutely. Except the fact that I could go to the Olympics doing it. Nothing else.
Wow. At the same time, you're all kind of always moving around. Mm-hmm. That's part of your early life. Why were you always moving around?
Well, Mommy said it was for convenience, and I feel like I am now that I think like that as well. I prefer to be close to my work, gym, stuff like that. So I can understand why she moved around a bit. She's an attorney at law, and so whenever she got a new job, she would try to move closer to the area that she worked in to, you know, avoid a lot of traffic and stuff like that.
So in a sense, in your early years, right, kind of a little bit like, you know, a nomad.
Yes.
Just kind of doing a lot of different things and moving around a lot. And also when you got to high school, you also did everything. But at the same time, your trajectory just completely changed. So in our next segment, we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about how you completely changed your path in high school as compared to your earlier earlier days. The earlier days of Megan Simmons, not Megan Tapper. We know you as Megan Tapper now, but you're Megan Simmons. So stick around. We're right back on Profile right after the break.